Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. As always, we begin today's broadcast by extending a welcome to our friends in South Africa, the United States, and around the world to this week's edition of A Conversation with El-Hajj Mauri Saalakhan. I'm pleased to be your host, coming to you once again through the Salam Media Network out of Johannesburg, South Africa. Salam Media is an online portal for humanitarian journalism. We don't just report the news, we advise you on what you can do about it. Today's broadcast is titled, How Can We Conquer the Muslim Divide? How can we conquer the Muslim divide? This is the focus of today's conversation. Now, our guests for the conversation are Sister Shafia M. Balia. Sister Shafia has been with us before. She is a community activist out of Georgia. Sister Khalila Sabra, attorney, Khalila Sabra out of North Carolina. She too has been with us before. And then we also have a first-time guest today out of Michigan, out of the battleground state of Michigan. Her name is Munira Salim. Now, a special note. I want to begin today's program with two pieces of short video. Now, the first piece of video is just a minute long. It's part of a 21-minute video, but we're just going to show the first minute of it. Again, it's part of a 21-minute video that will set the tone for the conversation that will follow. An African-American podcaster aired what can only be described as a 21-minute verbal assault, all right, against the Arab and Muslim communities in the battleground state of Michigan specifically, and by extension, against Arabs and Muslims throughout the United States. And not just against Arabs and Muslims, against Islam itself. It's a very vile piece of attack video. The video features a Detroit area-based African-American Christian pastor who has some very vile things to say about Arabs, Muslims, and Islam. It's also worth noting the fact that U.S. President Donald Trump, and this is a very important point, has platformed and conferred special favor on this African-American Christian minister, and for obvious reasons. Part of it, no doubt, is the fact that a highly respected Muslim physician by the name of Dr. Abdurrahman Muhammad El-Sayed appears to be on the verge of making political history in this Midwestern state and America as a whole. He is on the verge of possibly becoming the first Muslim U.S. senator in American history. And the Trump and MAGA-led cult wants to stop him by any means necessary. Now, with that as an introduction, what I'd like for us to do is show this this one 1 minute, 1 minute of the attack podcast. All right, 1 minute of the 21-minute attack video on against Arabs, Muslims, and Islam in America. We're just going to show 1 minute of it. And then we're going to follow that 1 minute with a very short piece of video on Dr. El-Sayed for the benefit of those of you who may not know who he is. And then from there, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to go to our first commercial break so that we can begin some very substantive conversation uninterrupted on the other side. Let's see those two pieces of video, Brother Sadiq.
This is a city that has prospered with your mosque and your call to prayer. Ooh. It's on the back of black people that we have funded everything you do. You look down on us. Your police enact injustice on us. And when Jake Lane talked about Jesus, he was assaulted. You are up under Sharia law. That is the reason why you have made no arrest. You laugh. You are 3 generations of racism in this very city. You know it. You have seen what has happened in this city. And it is my people that have funded you. It's my people that made sure that you have what you had. And you spit on us. You degrade us. But you're only 1% of this nation. We are not a nation of Muslims.
This is a campaign to stand up against the likes of Donald Trump and his lackey, Mike Rogers. This is a campaign to restore our voting rights, and with it, the opportunity to invest in schools that look like they did 50 years ago, the opportunity to take on the corrupt corporations who've got us paying too much for everything from our car notes to our car insurance to our health care, and the opportunity to get government back to this ideal of government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Sisters and brothers, I know it was a contentious primary. I know many of you might have voted in a different direction, but we all know the direction we got to go now. That's not right nor left, that is forward. And as a country, that is what we got to do together. I'm looking forward to your partnership, to your sisterhood and brotherhood, and I'm looking forward to serving this community just as I have in the halls of power in Detroit and Wayne County, in the hall of power in DC. I am grateful for the time and the opportunity, grateful for you, looking forward to serving you in Washington, DC. Thank you so much. I hope I can earn your support.
Yes. Before we go to the commercial, the first commercial break, I want to share with you what my what my response was to that shocking piece of attack video. This was my response to it that I sent out immediately upon sharing a part of it. This video is sad. 2 ignorant black bigots, and calling them ignorant is giving them the benefit of the doubt. It really is. For a Christian pastor of any stripe to begin his public remarks by identifying with a deeply immoral and criminal character like Donald Trump tells you all you need to know about his own character and religious leadership. With that being said, this disgusting piece of video should also serve notice to immigrant Muslims throughout the West, both in America and Europe, of the critical need for a fundamental change in how many of us interact with the non-Muslim community at large, especially the Black community. And I want to emphasize a point here. This is not a critique of all Arabs or all immigrant Muslims. This is not a critique, because they are not all guilty of this kind of behavior. But for those who are, this is a wake-up call. This is a need for us to correct ourselves, especially if we identify as Muslims. And another point that I want to make here that's very important is that all of the Arabs in America and in other parts of the West are not Muslims. There are Christian Arabs. There are Jewish Arabs. All right? Sephardic Arabs. All right? Or Sephardic Jews. These are Arab Jews. And there are Arab Christians. And throughout, the state of Michigan, especially in the greater Detroit area, it is an area that is heavily populated with Muslim and Christian Arabs. All Arabs are not Muslims. But again, for our Arab brothers and sisters who are Christian or Muslim or other, this attack on the Arab community and on the Muslim community must serve as a wake-up call for those of us whose behavior has not been up to par. I went on to say the following. On a final note, as a fairly well-known and publicly active African-American elder and human rights advocate with decades of work under his belt, I also happen to be a proud and unapologetic Muslim who loves his people, all of his people. And for the record, in the same way that I supported now New York City Mayor Zohran Kwame Mamdani, I also support Dr. Abdul Rahman Mohammed El-Sayed for the U.S. Senate. Let me make my position clear. As an African American elder with deep generational roots in the soil of this land called the United States of America. May God bless U.S. citizens of goodwill with another precedent-setting electoral victory, a victory that will unquestionably be in the best interests of the better of the two Americas, inshallah, God willing. On that note, Brother Sadiq, let's go to our first commercial and begin our conversation with our respected sisters on the other side.
We work hard to build our homes, businesses, and futures. Protecting them shouldn't mean compromising the values that matter most. ACNE Group of Companies, a Muslim-owned business, offers our short-term diamond insurance covers founded on ethical principles, transparency, integrity, and responsible service. This allows us to provide insurance solutions that align with ethical values while maintaining the protection and service standards you expect. To ensure complete peace of mind, all premiums, claims, and premium investment funds are managed through designated Sharia-compliant bank accounts, reflecting our ongoing commitment to ethical and responsible financial practices. From your first inquiry to the moment you need to claim, we are committed to providing professional, transparent, and reliable support. Choose insurance that reflects your values while giving you confidence and peace of mind. Speak to ACNE Group of Companies today to learn more about our commercial, engineering, professional indemnity, and liability diamond insurance covers. Call Rafiq Isaacs on 084-822-6570. ACNE Group of Companies comprises authorized financial services providers under FSP numbers 43281, 4553, and 45915. Products are underwritten by New National Assurance Company Limited FSP number 2603.
Are you banking with convenience, transparency, and flexibility? With Al Barakah Bank's transactional banking account, you can enjoy convenient everyday banking designed around your needs. Benefit from zero fees on point-of-sale transactions and manage your banking easily through Al Barakah's secure mobile banking app and internet banking platform. From everyday payments to managing your personal or business banking, Al Barakah makes banking simple, transparent, and convenient. Visit albarakah.co.za to learn more. Al Barakah, your partner bank. Al Barakah Bank Limited is an authorized financial services and credit provider.
Hey, Gulam.
Yeah?
Did I return your lawnmower last month?
No, bhai, you didn't.
Oh, no. Now what'll I do? I wanted to borrow it again, man.
With Randry Jewelers, you won't have to borrow or lend because the prices are so well trimmed on all gold and diamond jewelry. Alternatively, we could remake your old jewelry into a brilliant new design. Visit Randry Jewelers at 151 Stevens Lamini Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randry Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Tonight, a child in a shack will try to sleep through the cold. No heating, no insulation, just thin walls and a biting cold. African Muslims Agency is on the ground, reaching families in informal settlements across South Africa with blankets and winter essentials. Help us spread warmth this winter. For 180 Rand, give a blanket. For 360 Rand, a full winter pack. One gift, one less night in the cold. Africa Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Ah, the kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning or for the late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating, and celebrating life together. Let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, now we cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, our focus for today is how can we conquer the Muslim divide? That's the whole focus of today's broadcast. Efforts are being made in the wake of this tumultuous political campaign season that we're in to attack and divide and discolor the Muslim community, the Arab and Muslim community in America, and divide us. So we want to counter that with some insightful dialogue, inshallah ta'ala. For this dialogue, we have our sisters Shafia, Sister Khalila, and Sister Munira. Let's welcome them to today's broadcast. Assalamu alaikum, my sisters.
Alaikum salam.
I am so very happy to have the three of you join me for this this very, very, very important conversation. Sister Munir, given the fact that you are, this is the first time for you on the Salam Media Network. Let's hear from you first. What are your thoughts on the opening of today's conversation? You know, the controversy that's been generated by these bigots out of your home state of Michigan, and the challenges that this kind of bigotry represents for our community. And you're right there in a battleground state called Michigan. Let's start with you. Your thoughts.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and thank you so much for having me, El-Hajj Mauri. Thank you so much to Salam Media. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So this whole situation, if I'm just to say it, an interesting part of this is I've been part of Abdul's campaign for a while right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have, in one of the events that we had locally in Detroit, Jay Klang came to the event that I was there, you know. And interesting enough, before all this, when that event happened, we had an African-American brother from Minnesota, Keith Ellison, you know, and Keith Ellison had actually filed a complaint against Jay Klang in Minnesota. So this issue that we are talking about, it is not going away anytime soon. And matter of fact, in my opinion, as we approach November and all the way towards the 2028 election, it's gonna get worse. It's not gonna get worse, not just for the Arab community, it's going to get worse for the Muslim community in general. So that's one thing I really want to put out there. Like, it's going to get difficult for all of us. I'm not sure if people are aware, but immediately Abdul El-Sayed won his election. It was announced on the 5th, early in the morning. On the 6th, there was a movie, that trailer that was released. I saw it on Daily Wire, which is also a right-wing media channel. I don't know if you have watched the trailer, but that will be going to the movies this September. And you can imagine what is going to happen when all of Americans are going to watch that in the movies. I'm just going to give everybody the title. It's called Run, Hide, Fight, Infidels. I'm not going to go into it, but right. I'm just saying it's going to get worse for everybody, especially if you're a Muslim. You know?
Run, hide, fight, infidels.
Yes.
And then the title says it all.
The title says it all.
Yes, the title says it all. But go ahead, sister. Please share any other introductory thoughts you'd like to share on this.
I believe that this is a time that we have to start having those uncomfortable conversations within the Muslim community.
Yes.
And for us to be able to come together, we have to be able to understand the past, address the past, so that we can be able to forge the future together.
Yes, indeed.
This is not a time where we can be able to throw Islamic verses out there, where we can be able to throw in the last lecture of the Prophet ﷺ out there, where we can be able to mention Bilal and say we are one ummah without addressing those things at its root core. So I'm going to leave it at that. But we have to address those things first in order for us to be able to move forward together.
Well said. Well said. Sister Shafia, your thoughts?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I ask Allah to guide my heart, guide my tongue. I seek refuge in Allah, Master of the Day of Judgment, to keep me from betraying and being betrayed. Thank you, Brother Saalakhan, for having us on, all three of us. And assalamu alaikum to my sisters. I'm glad to see you again, Sister Khalila, and glad to meet you, Sister Munir, for the first time. I think the first thing that went through my head when I saw that video was, of course, disgust and alarm. And then I also thought about something that Sister Munira said, and I think it's ironic that in Detroit, that this was made by a pastor in Detroit, and Detroit being the home of the Nation of Islam, right? And so that this young pastor, besides having tethered his wagon to the one most corrupt, irreligious, hypocrites, etc., 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 but had no sense of history. So that was one of the first things that went through my head. And then the second thing I think that went through my head was that that this was a backlash. A backlash that there are two incidents that I think show that. the differences in how the different communities in Islam are viewed. In that, after 9/11, there was not in the Black community the kind of attack and revulsion against Muslims that happened after 9/11, because the Black community in general sees the example first of the Nation of Islam and its history of the impact of Islam. You know, there are folks who are part of, different sectors of the community, Sunni or Orthodox or Shia. There may be different, let's say there are theological differences of recognition. However, what the community sees is the nation having cleaned up young men and women out of, many times drugs and alcohol, pulling families together, right? And so there's a completely different kind of attitude toward Muslims in the Black community after 9/11 and in general. And then you see the kinds of attacks against Muslims of other ethnicities, and a reaction and conflict that happens not only between folks who are Muslim and folks who are not Muslim. And I could go into examples, within the Muslim community itself, and I could go into examples there. And so that was one of the first things that went through my head, and I really thank Sister Munira also for jump-starting that conversation of, we need to go beyond the Prophet ﷺ's last sermon, or naming Bilal as an excuse to say, oh, we're not racist. Bilal ibn Rabah is, he's the example. No, it has to go much deeper. We have to talk about, intention and us as models, and that being that serving of what the essence of Islam is about. And I could go on further. So I will yield the floor from there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sister Shafia. Let's hear from you, Sister Khalila, and welcome to the broadcast. Yes.
First, when I saw the video, I thought to myself that there is a spiritual problem of modern man, and one that we're not confronting. And if you look at this man, clearly he's like delusional, and his opinions have no foundation. And it is the administration that he holds in high value that obviously has affected him in the way that he defines the situation in America. He wants to say that other people of color are denying Black people and Hispanic people and Latino people and Arab people what they're entitled to. But if you looked at the situation objectively, if I want to show you something, White House, construction and modernization overall, $927 million. The East Wing, $600 million. To bomb Gaza, $21.7 billion, spans both the Biden and Trump administration. Major Israeli arms packages approved January 2026. More than $60 billion. $60 billion. Apache helicopters, military vehicles, and related equipment. People in Gaza hardly have a toothpick to protect themselves. Another one, major arms sales. It's all about arms by Trump's administration, March 2005, nearly $12 billion. One more. Oh, my point is this. If you go back to the inner cities, there are children there that don't have adequate education.
Yeah.
There are families that are barely getting by. Two parents have to work just to pay rent and feed their children. There are the infrastructure structure is completely broken down. No repairs. Everything's falling apart. And he wants to blame Arabs or Muslims for doing these things? He's not looking in the right direction. He is a pawn in a political game, political chess game. And basically, to be honest with you, he's like a bot boy. He does what he's told. And he insults the rights and the humanities of other people that are actually here struggling to work. Now, yes, there are lots of Arabs that have come to America, but what have they done? They've created businesses that help to advance the community, not to take anything away from it. And a pastor is supposed to be like a shepherd, but instead, he is the sheep and Trump is the shepherd. And it shocks me that he could say these things and there's not an uproar about it to discredit everything that he says. Muslims are Ahl Kitab, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. Okay, and so for him to say these things, obviously he knows nothing about Islam. Pure and simple, he's very ignorant about Islam, and he should educate himself before he continues to make statements like this.
Indeed. And in fact, you know, the argument could be made from my humble perspective that he doesn't know much about his own Christian religion as well. I mean, subhanAllah, the man that the divinely sent prophet and messenger of God, one of the majors, you know, the major prophet and divinely sent messenger before the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He was Palestinian. He was an Arab. and here he is just lashing out in the most vicious kind of ways against the Arab community across the board, and expressing through the language he's using that he believes Arab and Muslim is synonymous, that each and every Arab that you come across is a Muslim. And when again, the reality is that, you know, Arabs, they come in different religious flavors. They're Muslims, they're Christians, they're Jewish Arabs, you know, Sephardic Jews are Arabs. And so again, you have this quote unquote pastor, and I don't know if the person whose podcast it is also a Christian minister. He kind of came across as one for me. This was my introduction to him, this piece of video. But if in fact he is, it's a reflection of his ignorance as well. Sister Munir, do you have any other thoughts you'd like to share on this matter in response to what what our sisters had to say and the overall theme of, again, today's broadcast? How can we conquer the Muslim divide? This is a very important issue for us, especially at this time.
I think we have to, I think conquering the Muslim divide is also important, but we also have to realize the tactic that is also being used to be able to divide all of us, which is the old playbook of divide and conquer. You know, that is what is being done here by Jake Lang. Um, and that is also what is being actually done by that other pastor. You know, he's a Republican pastor. He's hosted Republicans, or rather, let me say the MAGA extreme in his churches before, and things like that. Somebody like Jake Lang, it's not just about Arabs. He protested, I believe it was in Minnesota like 2 months ago, and he was holding signs that was saying Black parents are failures, you know. And then when he comes to Michigan, now he is talking as though he wants to defend the Black community and point to like these other people are the problem, you know. So he's a paid operative that is being used to divide everyone. But I think also in terms of being able to conquer the Muslim divide, you know, I'm going to speak specifically from Detroit. I am in the Detroit area, and in general, as Black Muslims, for those of us that do live in Detroit, our experience is the Black experience more than the Muslim experience. We are Muslims. We are proud to be Muslims, you know, but when we go out and live our lives, our experience is the Black experience, you know. So I will say in terms of being able to bridge that divide, there needs to be more conversations that are ongoing between the Black Muslim community and the Arab community. And also when we just talk about the issues, for example, that was being referred to in those videos, it's just like you said, Brother Mauri, it's important to recognize that I'm going to address a specific issue that everybody in the community has been addressing. For example, the issue of the gas stations in our communities. That issue, for example, first we're going to say, like just like you say, the Arabs can be Chaldean Christians. You know, they are a huge chunk of them are in Michigan. A good number of them own businesses also in Detroit. So it's just not just the Arab Muslims only. But when we come back and look at it from the perspective of the Muslims, for the few that have businesses in the city and their relationship to the Black community, I think there's some work that they can be able to do too, you know?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to give a few examples. Yesterday in Detroit, we were celebrating one of the streets we were having it named after Imam Abdullah El-Amin, who was one of the co-founders of the Muslim Center, you know. And somebody mentioned something that happened before that is still relevant right now to this discussion. And he said, Brother Imam Abdullah El-Amin went with another elder, and this is like years back, to a Muslim gas station owner to be able to tell him, like, you have to stop selling. It was something inappropriate that I don't want to say in this setting, but he had to go talk to him and say, look, you're our Muslim brother. You cannot be selling this specific thing in our community, you know? So there are people like that. I mean, I can talk about an example of that my husband was telling me, you know, when we moved, he was out of Detroit for a while, but when we moved back, there was a gas station owner. He's Muslim. He's from Syria. He's Hafidul Quran. His children are Hafidul Quran, but he was there selling drug pipes in the community. Like, we have to be honest about these things if we want to be able to bridge this divide.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes.
And we have to be able to address these issues.
Yeah, we have that old adage, you know, be careful of the life you lead. You may be the only book that some people read. And so, yes, these mom and pop shops and these stores, large and small, within our communities that are run by immigrant Muslims that are selling things that they shouldn't be selling, They are giving a very distorted view of a counterproductive dawah is what they're presenting the community with.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, this is something that needs to be addressed.
I think, Brother Saalakhan and sisters, I think one of the first things is first of all to acknowledge that there's a problem.
Yes.
This is openly and regularly acknowledged within the Black Muslim community, but rarely within the quote-unquote immigrant Muslim community.
That's
So
right.
I think that there's, first of all, there's that. I think also, at least in terms of acknowledgement, then there has to be a discussion about, or at least an understanding in terms of history and intention. You know, and in Islam, intention is very important. And in looking at the history of the two communities, there's not only this question of the different ethnicity in terms of Black people, as many of us call ourselves indigenous Muslims, the different history of our path to Islam, and the history of how the makeup or the intentions of quote unquote immigrant Muslims to be here inside the United States. If you look historically at the Muslim community within the Black community, as Sister Munira said, there's a very specific kind of motivation, at least for many of the generations up until now, and I think it's even true now, that it is about a liberation type of thinking, a liberation-based theology. Malcolm X, El-Hajj Mauri Saalakhan had a major impact. And before him, of course, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam, of addressing the question of oppression. And many Muslims became Muslims because of Islam's stance on justice and against oppression.
Mm-hmm.
Many in the immigrant Muslim community, and I generalize, it is about coming for a better life. And there's nothing wrong with wanting a better life. We all want safety for our families. We all want our families to be stable and to go to our highest human potential. But understanding there's a difference in the motivation and the use of resources when folks are here. And there does not seem to be a discussion about what happens, within the larger ummah, when these two intentions are in the same room. And so I think that the question of history and intention has to be discussed, right, in an objective, respectful manner, but it must be heard. The not only the why, for example, the generation of El-Hajj Malik, but that there is a history of Islam that goes back to the 20s, in the United States, centered in our community. And that's critically important. And has not taken root in other parts of the population inside the United States. And I think that there is a reason behind it. And so when you have folks who come and they're coming for the purposes, and I understand this is a general, this is not everyone, but who comes solely for the purpose of economic advancement, not acknowledging the history there, and as well as bringing forward anti-Black attitudes from their own countries. then there has to be a honest sitting down, right, of acknowledgement of the history and the leadership. Imam Jamil El-Amin, I'm paraphrasing now, but he talked about the potential for, and he was not the only one, but he was, I think this also got raised within the Warithian community later on, but the growth of Islam within the Black community, the experience coming from a liberationist kind of a theology, kind of puts us in a position that can be major contribution to the worldwide ummah of a repositioning about what is Islam about, and contribute both in practice as well as intellectually to the entire ummah, and an acknowledgement of that history and that potential, that practice. If you want to start from all of the variations, whether you want to go Noble Drew Ali, I started listing different leaders who are come out of our community and given leadership on social justice and in other arenas of life. And I don't want to go into the list, but there's a whole list that I started, more dozens of people, and it's no accident that they're Muslim, because of the way that we, of our deen, of our what the tenets, what the foundations of Islam are about. And so, I think that there's that coming together of the history, and that can be the foundation for muhasaba, right? Self-examination and conversation that can struggle for, a coming, or at least a foundation for doing some healing.
Mm-hmm. Before we hear from our sister Khalila, Sister Munira, I want to ask you something. You mentioned a name, and I'm wondering, is that the name? The other name that you mentioned, is that the name of the podcaster, or is that someone else?
Which name?
Oh,
I mentioned. I said Jay Klein. Jay Klein is the Caucasian guy that is actually protesting everywhere, and the one that came to Michigan. Lorenzo Sewell is the pastor that was with him, that is African American.
So Jay Klein is a Caucasian that is doing propaganda work in the Michigan. Is he from Michigan, or did you say he came to the Michigan area from some other part of the U.S.?
So the protest that just happened in Dearborn, the two people that were leading it and banning the Quran with the MAGA extremists and all that is Jay Klein. That's his name.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
And he was working with a local pastor. His name is Pastor Lorenzo Sewell.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's the pastor that we saw in
that's the pastor that we saw in the video, Pastor Lorenzo. Mm-hmm.
And he is, again, for those who may have joined this broadcast late, the African-American pastor, as you could use the term attack dog for the MAGA cult, is someone who has been platformed, given special mention by Trump, by the Trump administration. He's one of their MAGA functionaries.
Yeah.
And it's just a very sad spectacle. Now, the podcaster himself, I don't know who the podcaster is, but clearly he is someone within that fold as well. He is solidly within that fold. And it's a reflection of what our sister noted in her opening remarks, the fact that, this is something that's going to be going on. It's going to be intensifying as we go along. It's going to be intensifying. Um, Again, not simply because of the fact that Michigan is a battleground, a very important battleground state for the upcoming midterms and for the general election that will follow 2 years from now. But it is a state that has the ability to have influence on other locales throughout the country. And so, with that being said, let's hear again from you, Sister Khalila. You know, our Sister Khalila Sabra, she is an immigration attorney, and she has been able to see the way that racism and anti-Arab and anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant rhetoric is weaponized in some of the most horrific ways, some of the most oppressive ways. Let's hear again from you, Sister Khalila. Your thoughts.
Thank you. You just mentioned that word, weaponized. Well, then we need to get a bulletproof vest, because part of the problem is us. Part of the problem are Muslims who do not vote, who are not proactive, who do not stand up for what's right. And the situation is unlikely to change until we elect politicians who take the matters of civil rights and equality seriously. The problem is that the government conveys, no matter what words it may be phrased, is a clear and simple lesson of unquestioned circumstances. It occurs when a person knowingly stands by without raising any objection to the infringement of their rights. It is safe to say okay, but it is dangerous and risky to say no. Government defines the act of saying no in general as unsound and unwholesome. But saying no to laws that oppress itself, it is considered treason. If moderate terror and a certain modest level of contamination are attached to any person who attempts to question the inequalities of more dangerous level of contamination that is attached to those who stand up against the system. Now, there were demonstrations in Milwaukee. Even American citizens were shot dead because they said no. They did not say yes to the conduct of the government, but they stood for humanitarian rights, and they were eliminated. And I know that it has an impact on everyone, but the least thing that we can do is stop being armchair revolutionaries and not going to the polls. It's not enough to look at MSNBC or Al Jazeera and think that we're doing something special. We're not doing anything. We're not doing anything for the poor people of color whose children go to school and are given terrible education, and then they see upper class white students being prepared to go to Harvard, Columbia University, places that the average Black child, the average Hispanic child will never see. And there's no way that someone can say that it's right when it's obviously wrong. And it's not an accident. It's a pre-planned system that adopts this way to make people believe that they're not capable or that they are undeserving.
That's right.
And these are the same children who look at television and they see people in very big houses with brand new cars that go on vacations, go to the top universities, but they cannot have these things. How do we justify that? As long as we are not proactive, as long as we don't support and vote for those politicians who will take this situation seriously, then everything stays the same. Everything has been like that for decades. Isn't anybody tired of it? Isn't anybody going to say this is not right? Not submit to APAC, but to submit to the Constitution, civil rights that allow for equality. I don't care where you're from. Everyone has the right to be treated with decency. And there are no class of people that are to be treated superiorly in a superior method. Now, it's not enough to tell someone, it's not enough that a person of color can go sit on a lunch counter and eat lunch, or go get a drink of water at a fountain and still say that he's not a slave. Many of us are very much slaves to the system because we do not do anything that's proactive enough to change the system and to get allies. They don't have to be Muslim allies, but people that have a common cause and are willing to stand up for what's right. Until we do that, until we organize, then change, I do not believe change is going to occur. We've had Martin Luther King, we've had Malcolm X, we've had Bobby Kennedy, but did we maintain? Did we steady the course? No. After that, we had J. Edgar Hoover. We had Richard Nixon that showed no respect for minorities. And if you want to be honest, Joe Biden was not minority friendly. Okay. He didn't do anything for minorities. So, and we know where Trump stands. Okay. That's obvious. But like I said, it is risky to say no, but a person with integrity should say, stop. This has to stop. It's as simple as that.
Yes, indeed. Okay. I should have known that this hour was going to go fast. Let's do this. Let's conclude today's conversation with a minute each. SubhanAllah, it's 2:58. A minute each of a closing thought. Let's begin with you, Sister Munira. Whatever thought is on your heart that you'd like to share with the viewing and listening audience in a minute, please share your thought.
So for me, I think when it comes to the Muslim community, especially, I would love to be able to use this moment to especially address the immigrant Muslim community. I think one way is to know that it's like, I love what my sister say, like intention is like very important. And that is one thing that our dean stresses for us like so much, like having good intentions. And I want to say, like, everything that we do, we have to be intentional about it, about how we go about it, about how inclusive we are in even doing those things. So, like, after this situation that happened with Jay Klang, for example, there is a lot of ongoing conversations that is happening in the community that is being put up by the Black community who are not Muslim. So this will be a very good opportunity for the immigrant Muslim community to allow themselves to be uncomfortable and go into those spaces, to be able to have this conversation, to be able to share their perspective with the wider Black community and not just Black Muslims. I think in Michigan, the Muslim community is like we live in silos based on ethnicities. Like everybody is living in their own small community. Rarely are we seeing people trying to go into other communities. And I think it's time that we start going into other communities too, you know? And with everything that we do, we also have to go in the same way. If we are talking about for example, I'll just give an example. If we're talking about Arab businesses, for example, that own coffee shops, they can say, okay, for this month, for example, we are partnering with a Black coffee shop owner in the Black community to be able to highlight A, B, C, D, or maybe a portion, 10% of our sales will go to support a certain social services in the city of Detroit. Things like that being put out there is, when you do things like that, it shows that you're moving with intention and you are serious about building those relationships to be able to fix and mend that divide, So I'm really hoping that inshallah, even after this November election, that the communities move with intentionality to be able to heal, to be able to come together between the Black community and the Arab community so that we can be able to heal and we can be able to move together as a people. Because at the end of the day, we are all humans and we want for our children to have those same things. I want for the children of Detroit to be able to thrive like the children that are in the suburbs of Detroit,
Okay, thank you very much, Sister. And Sister Munir, we are going to have you back, inshallah ta'ala, to continue this conversation. Sister Shafia, let's hear from you. A minute of closing thoughts on today's topic.
The impossible. I think I'll take from both sisters. Sister Khalila used the word organization. She said organize. Without organization and us moving collectively, then all of those hopes and dreams, they're hopes and dreams and do not get translated into a reality. I really think that there needs to be independent organization, both in the Muslim and the Black communities, that are about being accountable to each other and providing roadmaps to be able to organize the kinds of discussions that needs to have between the communities. I think also secondarily, what Sister Munira just raised about intention and moving forward, that there has to be another way that it is looked beyond the elections, that the foundation is set there for the education of each community, of the history of the other and the attentions of the other. And I think that also addresses the issue of why many people are not engaged in this electoral system, is because they continue we continue to be told to address it individually when we know that individually we are not able to outspend, out-resource those who are arrayed against us. And so I go to the position of organization is key and to try to address all of those levels that we have been identifying today. I would stop there.
Organization is key. Yes, indeed. All right, Sister Khalila, your final thought.
My final thoughts are those who are content to undergo moral and intellectual suicide without remorse can probably be counted on as well to look upon the oppression, the segregation of people of color, and with an unconcerned state of mind. How many of us dares to fight to resurrect for others what we do not feel it worth our own while to salvage for ourselves. If you want to achieve something, you've got to stand on your feet. And even if it's not affecting you directly, and it's affecting your neighbor, and it's affecting someone that works in a shop, that is our business. That is our concern. And when we start with small alliances, they grow. People start opening their eyes. That guy had a podcast and people are listening to him. Where are our YouTube shows? Where where are our podcasts? We are not speaking. Basically, we're not speaking truth to power. And this man, Pastor Lorenzo, I would question why his assets go beyond $1.5 million. I would question why he's able to stand on a pulpit and basically preach the same type of the way that the Ku Klux Klan preached years ago. Why is that allowed? Because he is basically collecting a following. It's time for people to hear the voice of Muslims, of what Islamic justice is, and to make alliances. That's the only way we're going to do it, is to all of us come together as one. I don't care what country you're from. I don't care what your school of thought is. We have to come together for the cause.
And build alliances.
Things right.
Yes. All right, my sisters, I want to thank you all for joining us today for this very important conversation. Inshallah ta'ala, it's going to continue. We're going to have you back again. This is our final broadcast in the month of Black August, and I consider it to have been a most fitting one with an excellent panel of guests. On that note, we close out as we normally do. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wal Asr. Inna l-insana lafi kusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amalu salihati. Wa tawassaw bil haqq. Wa tawassaw bis sabr. Which means, in the translation of the meaning, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, by the token of time through the ages, surely humanity is in loss, except those who believe and do good, and exhort one another to truth, and exhort one another to patiently persevere. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum.